Satan is not the devil's real name, and neither is Lucifer. I bet that's not what you were thinking. But his real name is mentioned in the Bible in one location, and today, in this video, we're going to show you what that name is and discuss what it might mean. Because you may have heard of this character historically in the past. You'll find that very interesting. And we're going to talk about what his real appearance is. Obviously, it's not a guy in horns and a pitchfork, but it's not an angel of light either, because he only disguises himself as an angel of light. He actually has a different appearance, and we're going to talk about that also. But first, a shout out to Pastor Doug Hamp for providing us research on this topic. Doug has a 3-part book series known as Corrupting the Image, Parts 1, 2, and 3, which is a very good and very in-depth study on supernatural elements of the end times. There is a link down in the description. But back to Satan. In the book of Revelation, we learn that 4 different titles are assigned to Satan. The great dragon, there's one, was hurled down. That ancient serpent, there's 2, called the devil, 3, or Satan, 4, who leads the whole world astray. He was hurled to the earth, and his angels with him. Revelation 12:9. So Satan is the dragon, the devil, and the serpent of old from the Garden of Eden. And of course, his title is Satan also. There is a lot of discussion in prophetic circles that maybe Satan in the Old Testament and the New Testament aren't the same as the serpent in the garden. This verse dispels that theory. Those 4 titles are all for the same creature, but they aren't his name. And in the book of Ezekiel, chapter 28, we find out what kind of creature he is. God calls him the anointed cherub who covers. This is another title for Satan. It's not his name either. Cherub is the singular form of cherubim. So Satan is cherubim. He's one of them. He's the one that covers. We know from the beginning of the book of Ezekiel that the 4 cherubim carry the throne of God. We will look at all those titles in more depth and Satan's appearance later in the video. But for now, what about his name? What is his name? In Isaiah 14:12-3, we're given that name. How you have fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning. How you are cut down to the ground, you who weakened the nations. For you have said in your heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit on the mount of the congregation on the farthest sides of the north. Now, I'm sure you're hearing this and just thinking, hey, you just said his name wasn't Lucifer, yet here it is in black and white in the New King James Version. Well, yeah, it's black and white, but it's not quite right. The underlying Hebrew name, translated Lucifer, is Halel ben Shakar. This term appears only once in the Bible, and translators have had a very hard time translating it because Halel Halel ben Shakar isn't a Hebrew word. It's a proper name. The closest sounding Hebrew word to Halel is Halol, meaning to shine. And since Ben Shakar are Hebrew words that do mean son of the dawn, translators had an idea. Maybe it meant one who shines at dawn. The Septuagint Greek translation from like 200 years ago before Christ rendered it as bringer of the dawn, the ancient Greek name for morning star or Venus that often shines in the dawn. Similarly, the Latin Vulgate from 300 years after Christ rendered it as Lucifer, the name in that language for Venus. The Wycliffe Bible, which was the first complete English Bible, copied the name, and the King James and the Strong's Concordance copied it as well. So if you look at those places and say these are authoritative, well, they're authoritative only back as far as the Wycliffe Bible or the Latin Vulgate. That's where it comes from. So these early translations consider it a name for a star. Modern translations focus on calling the name star of the morning, day star, etc. Now, stars are frequently associated with divine beings, but is that the best we can do? Is this really just about a star? Or might that name tell us something different? Back in the days of the Tower of Babel, the kingdom that built that structure, the tower, and the cities around it, are currently known as the Sumerians. Their chief god was known as Alel or Ainlael. Yes, it sure sounds like Halel. In the Sumerian language, this name meant Lord of the Air or Lord of the Wind. Interesting. Look at the title Paul gives Satan in Ephesians. And you he made alive, who were dead in trespasses and sins, in which you once walked according to the course of this world, according to the prince of the power of the air, the spirit who now works in the sons of disobedience, Ephesians 2:1-2. So Halel sounds just like the Sumerian name of their chief god, and the meaning of that name matches with the title that Paul applies. Not only that, but Sumerian art frequently depicts Alel as having a crown with, catch this, 10 horns, just like the dragon with 10 horns. Are Alel and Satan the same being? Is the chief Sumerian god from Tower of Babel days, Alel, truly Satan? And the Hebrew word for idols, Halalim, is also derived from this name. Wow, is that a coincidence? Look at what the Sumerians have said about him. Alel's commands are by far the loftiest. He alone is the prince of heaven, the dragon of the earth. They called their chief god a dragon. Alel was often pictured as a dragon, but not a dragon the way we envision one today. You know, fire-breathing, flying dragon. It's different. Look at what the Sumerians said about him. Quote, he has perfected heroship, a dragon with hands of a lion, with eagle's claws, who spits venom like a snake. Now, who does that sound like? The dragon, the serpent of old. This dragon, however, was more like the dragon on Babylon's Ishtar Gate, or the Anzu bird of the Sumerians, a creature with the features of several different animals. Notice, lion, eagle, snake, and dragon are all listed. But aren't the Sumerian gods, just mythology? Come on. Well, maybe not. Maybe they were fallen angels. In Genesis 6, we see the sons of God descended to the earth. The Sumerians have a history, both before the flood and after it. So, were their gods the ancient sons of gods or fallen angels? And was their chief god, Alel, Satan? That is our theory. It's also the theory of Pastor Hamp. In terms of appearance, the fact that Satan was one of the cherubim helps. His title was the cherub who covers. Cover is the Hebrew word sakak, and it means to defend or literally to cover. This same word is used for the cherubim on the Ark of the Covenant who cover the mercy seat with their wings. The mercy seat was God's throne on earth. It is where he said he would meet with man after the fall. Was Satan originally one of this group? Were there 5 cherubim instead of 4 to start out? And was Satan fired, so to speak, after sin was found in him? Well, maybe. Is this former grouping of 5 cherubim the reason a 5-sided figure, a pentagon star, is a symbol of evil, the symbol of Satan and satanic worship? Well, maybe. The pentagon is an ancient symbol that goes all the way back to the Sumerians and to ancient Babylon. It was said to be the symbol of Marduk, the chief god of Babylon, who's another name for Satan. Keep this in mind as we further explore this subject. And interestingly, the 4 cherubim who attend and carry God's throne have 4 faces: a lion, an ox, a man, and an eagle. These 4 faces are thought to illustrate the strength of God's creation. You know, lion-like strength, ox-like service, human-like intelligence, and eagle-like speed. So these creatures have both animal and human characteristics. Yet the cherubim are not described as being reptilian, but Satan is. Is this why the devil is described as a dragon and a serpent in Scripture? The other 4 cherubim have faces like a domestic animal, a wild animal, man, bird. Does Satan have a reptilian face? Did he represent yet another aspect of God's creation? It's an interesting thought. And since we've established he is a cherub, one of the cherubim, he likely resembles the other 4 cherubim described by Ezekiel. So let's look at that. This was their appearance. They had the likeness or form of a man. Each one had 4 faces, each one had 4 wings. Some pictures of Alel show him as a man with 4 wings. Their legs were straight, and the soles of their feet were like the soles of calves' feet. They sparkled like the color of burnished bronze. The hands of a man were under the wings on the 4 sides, and each of the 4 had faces and wings. Their wings touched one another. These cherubim had the likeness or body or shape of a man, but had 4 faces and 4 wings. And did you like that they sparkled? I found that pretty cool. Ezekiel continues, as for the likeness of their faces, each had the face of a man. Each of the 4 had the face of a lion on the right side. Each of the 4 had the face of an ox on the left side. And each of the 4 had the face of an eagle. Thus were their faces. So each living creature had 4 faces. Does Satan? And did you notice that Alel, the dragon of Sumer, had many of these same animals in its nature? A lion, a man, and an eagle? He's also described as being a bull or an ox in other ancient texts. It seems he appeared as one or multiple ones of these animals at different times. He was chimeric, containing the DNA, in other words, of multiple creatures. As a side note, interestingly, it has been speculated that the 4 tribes of Israel had these same 4 animals symbols on their flags. And when they encamped in the wilderness, they lined up in this same order. Although the Old Testament doesn't describe these flags, according to rabbinical tradition, the standard of Judah bore the figure of a lion, Reuben, the likeness of a man, Ephraim, the ox, and Dan, an eagle. These are the same 4 faces as the living creatures had, and the 4 standards under which Israel encamped in the wilderness were assigned the same directions: to the east, Judah; to the north, Dan; to the west, Ephraim; and to the south, Reuben. The same positions as the faces lion, eagle, ox, and man. Now, not only is Satan one of the cherubim, it appears he was their high priest and wore a breastplate of jewels similar to Israel's high priest. You were in Eden, in the garden of God. Every precious stone was your covering: sardius, topaz, and diamond, beryl, onyx, and jasper, sapphire, emerald, and carbuncle, and crafted in gold were your settings and engravings. Ezekiel 28:13. What does this mean? The settings are where the jewels were fixed or set in his breastplate. The breastplate was likely a symbol of, some kind of spiritual authority, just like the high priest had. Now, is Satan still wearing that breastplate? We don't know, but I really doubt it. His authority in heaven has been eliminated. He has authority on earth, but not on heaven. Will we get to see Satan when he's cast down to the earth after the war in heaven with Michael? Wow, what a question. We can only speculate what happens at that point when Satan and a third of the angels physically are cast down to the earth. My best guess is that yes, we'll be able to see them. They are currently spiritual beings in a spiritual place, heaven. But when they're on the earth, they will be three-dimensional, in a three-dimensional plane. So they might exist in three-dimensional bodies, only time is going to tell. But what is the reason that Satan rebelled against God? I mean, didn't he know that there was no way he could win against the Creator? Well, actually, there was a way he could win. Click right here to keep watching and discover Satan's strategy to keep the dominion of the earth. And it's his end time strategy right now, by the way. Till then, this is Nelson, and I'll see you there.